So for emergency use, the Covishield vaccine has been approved by the expert panel. 5 crore doses ready. There will be a dry run tomorrow across the country. How quickly can the vaccine be taken across the length and breadth of our country? So you have the Indian Air Force, which will play a crucial role in flying the vaccine as and when required to difficult areas, whether it's your big transport aircraft or helicopters. For the last mile, especially in difficult areas, you'll have doctors, you'll have healthcare workers. It's a nationwide initiative. But before that dry run, the good story, the good news story is the Covishield vaccine, it's made in India. So it's available, it's affordable. The efficacy, we'll be talking to doctors about it, but they are fairly confident this could well be the magic bullet India needs.
It's the best New Year gift possible. A vaccine for COVID is here, finally. The Subject Expert Committee of the Central Drug Standard Control Organization has recommended emergency use of Covishield, the vaccine developed by Oxford University and AstraZeneca and manufactured here by the Serum Institute of India.
ये एक बहुत अच्छी खबर है क्योंकि अब हमारा नया अगला कदम शुरू होता है कि हम ये सारी वैक्सीन अपने देश में सब लोगों को कैसे लगाएंगे जो प्रायोरिटाइज की हुई हैं उनका पूरा रोल आउट करने का जो चैलेंज है हमारे देश में वो अब शुरू होता है और हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि जैसे ये वैक्सीन हमारे पास अप्रूव हुई है वैसे और जो वैक्सीन फाइनल स्टेज में हैं वो भी आ जाएंगी जिससे नंबर ऑफ डोजेस बढ़ जाएंगे और हमें सब लोगों को वैक्सीन लगाने में काफी हद तक सहूलियत मिलेगी.
The decision comes just a couple of days after the UK regulator cleared the vaccine there. In the phase 3 trials, when 2 full doses were given, the efficacy was found to be 62%. The vaccine had shown 90% efficacy when half a dose is given the first time, taking overall efficacy to 70.4%. UK authorities say the vaccine has 80% efficacy if the second dose is given 3 months after the first one. India is all set to start a nationwide dry run for vaccine rollout from Saturday. The dry run will be conducted by all states and union territories to test every step of the process from transport to actual administration of vaccine. It will test the efficacy of CoWIN app that will be used to register vaccine recipients.
ये जो एक्सरसाइज है इसका उद्देश्य भी यही है कि हम हमारी हर बारीक से बारीक जो एस्पेक्ट्स हैं उनको पूरी अच्छी तरीके से उनका अध्ययन कर लें. वैक्सीनेशन की जो टीम्स हैं उन साइट्स के ऊपर जो माइन्यूट से माइन्यूट बातों को ख्याल करना है.
The government plans to vaccinate 30 crore Indians by July. In the first phase, 1 crore health workers will get the shots. Then around 2 crore frontline workers will be covered. In the third phase, those above the age of 50 and people who have comorbidities will get the shots.
On India Today, we've been reporting how Covishield was the first running contender to get the emergency use authorization in India. Well, the time has come and just a few more days for India's vaccination drive to kickstart. With Himanshu Sharma, this is Milan Sharma for India Today.
But remember, the Prime Minister has constantly been saying, Dawai bhi aur kadai bhi, which means once you've taken the jab, does it mean you can get rid of that mask or that social distancing? You can do away with it? Let's ask the finest team of experts who now join me on India First. It is my privilege to welcome Professor Dr. SK Sarin, Dr. Harsh Mahajan, Dr. Swapneil Parikh, three of the finest experts, amongst the finest experts in our country. From the United Kingdom, I have Dr. Renu Jainer from the Queen Elizabeth Hospital and Dr. Manish Gautam. He's the Director of Medicine at the Liverpool University Hospital in the United Kingdom. And from the United States, let me welcome Dr. Rajveer Purohit. He's the Director. He's joining us from New York. But Dr. Sarin, if I may, the first day of 2021, and we are told the Covishield has got emergency approval. What does this mean? And from this day to the first vaccination, what would be the time frame, sir?
Well, first of all, Gaurav, you and through you and your channel, Happy New Year, Happy 2021. Actually, 2020 is over is a big news. 21 starts with a hope, and hope means we have possibility of a better life, a better meeting each other and success. The approval of vaccine in India was a foregone conclusion because it was published in Lancet, the best journal of the world. The data was peer reviewed by editors and reviewers. It also got through the much awaited the UK regulatory process, which thoroughly saw it, and after putting all their mind and seeing the data carefully, they approved the vaccine. And since most of the vaccine volunteers were from other parts of the world, not from India, it was clear that this vaccine is efficacious in all types of people, all countries. So the UK approval meant a lot for us, and of course a small proportion of Indian volunteers also got it. The vaccine is safe. The published data shows that after the first shot, nearly 70% of the people get antibodies in 14 days. And therefore, by the time, whether you take it at 28 days or with the new modified idea of giving it at 3 months, about 90% will get possibly neutralizing antibody. The reason to me why they have made it 3 months rather than just 1 month could be a little tricky. The reason could be UK wants to vaccinate largest number of people to get them the first dose. They don't have the dosages for their population enough. India might have, through the Serum Institute, large number of dosages. So if you can vaccinate large number of people, give them the first shot, I think it will be very wise. Mutations of the virus can be handled very well. The second part of this vaccine is that it is affordable. It is not so expensive, $3 or $6 or whatever the cost, and can be stored very well. So you can take it out like any other vaccine. So India has an experience of mass vaccination drives. So therefore, we would be able to handle this, and the government has gone through, so the committees have gone through such detailed preparatory efforts. I'm sure starting tomorrow, within a week, we are all going to be ready for the jab. It is important we accept it. It is important that we find
it actually sounds, sir, it sounds so soothing, so calming to hear what you say. And as far as the prices are concerned, we had it first here on India Today, and right from the horse's mouth, if I may, 400 rupees for a vaccine for the government, 2,000 rupees for 2 doses in the civil market. Dr. Mahajan, in your appreciation, what would be the time frame, and are we looking at a time anyone could walk up to a doctor and get a vaccine should one require this, and at 2,000 rupees for 2 doses?
Gaurav, at the outset, I'd like to wish you, your team and the viewers a very happy new year, which has come with the very happy news of the Covaxin, the Covishield, actually from AstraZeneca getting emergency use approval. Of course, this is approval which has been given by the subject expert committee, and the drug controller will further confirm it. So, any drug or any vaccine which is given emergency use approval cannot be sold in the open market. It is regulated by the government. So I think, getting these vaccines in the open market may not happen very soon. It may take time, and the government actually is on top of things. Already we've had a dry run in 4 states. Tomorrow there's going to be a dry run in all states of the country, especially in the capitals and in some of the districts where it's very tough to reach. That dry run is going to happen. So it has to be done in a very systematic manner. The network for which has already been laid down by the government. And so it'll still take many months before you can walk into a chemist shop and get a vaccine, or go to a doctor's clinic and get a vaccine. The money that you pay for it, I think, is immaterial at the present point of time. It is the availability. And as more vaccines come in, right now we are talking about the AstraZeneca, we are talking about the vaccine from Bharat Biotech, and also the vaccine from Russia is under development and trial. So, but Pfizer is in the game as well. They've got to submit some more documentation to the government, and maybe that's the one which may be there in, select locations within the country, because it requires storage at minus 70 degrees centigrade,
Okay.
which is not possible. That may be the one
Oh,
which may
absolutely.
be allowed.
But when we talk about, when we talk about, yes, sir. Okay, when we talk about who gets it first, so that priority, Dr. Parikh, is very clear. The frontline corona warriors, the healthcare workers, those dealing with emergencies. But subsequently, who are the people in your appreciation who are most vulnerable, who should get it? And this UK strain that everyone talks about, Dr. Parikh, especially with some reports saying children are vulnerable. So will children also require this in your appreciation, sir?
Gaurav, thank you so much for having me on your show. Happy New Year to you and your entire team, and all your viewers. Happy New Year, especially to all the frontline medical workers who are on call on New Year's Eve and today, keeping the front lines manned. It's a very important question, how we allocate the vaccines. The most clear trend with mortality that we see is age, even more than pre-existing conditions. So those who are elderly, let's say 60, 65 plus, especially if they have a comorbid condition, that's definitely the group that you want to vaccinate on priority basis, because that will help reduce mortalities. The one thing that, the AstraZeneca trials, there were a few problems in the trials, a few missteps in the trial. It's a good vaccine. It's just the clinical trial was a little confusing. Data on the exact group that we want to prevent mortalities in, the elderly age group. But we know that it does reduce severe COVID-19.
Okay.
It will reduce deaths. What we are not clear on is whether it reduces transmission. We hope it does. So we really need to prioritize those who it's most likely to prevent severe outcomes in. About the question about children, there is some evidence that the new UK variant does show up more in young people. But there are a lot of confounders in that analysis. There are a lot of reasons why that might happen, other than it being able to infect children more. I don't think children are vulnerable here. There's a question about whether they have increased susceptibility to get infected. I don't think they're particularly vulnerable for severe outcomes.
So more contagious, but fortunately not more perhaps dangerous or fatal. But Dr. Jainer, in the United Kingdom, now you have experience from the 8th of December till date, and I believe in a couple of days you'll also start the AstraZeneca vaccine in the UK. Ma'am, what has your experience been so far?
Yes, thank you, Gaurav, for inviting me again to the show. And as you realize, most of the panel members have actually given quite a comprehensive review of lots of things about what vaccines are available, who should be prioritized, and how it will be rolled out. From our perspective, for the last 1 month, we've vaccinated a good few 100,000 people. I'm also one of those. We've had a couple of anaphylactic reactions. Majority of the side effects have just been a bit of malaise or a bit of pain at the site of injections, but majority have not experienced any side effects. Now, the second thing is the second dose, we were due to have it in the next 3 weeks, which most of us were given appointments. However, because the MHRA, which is our regulatory body here, has approved the AstraZeneca vaccine, the Oxford one. So from next week, we are hoping to roll out a program. And just yesterday, in fact, we've had all the 4 chief medical officers for all the 4 countries in UK have made a statement, and that is after consulting the vaccination and immunization committee. So it's not them who've decided it. It's been a joint decision that first we will ensure everyone gets the first dose of vaccine. And that means the people who've had the first dose of vaccine in the last 1 month would be delayed by 2 to 3 months. And the reason for that are a few, really. One is that you will get we are immune until the next 12 weeks. That is one thing. And we would want to cover more population than actually a select population having the second dose. That is the second thing. And the third bit is that...
Fair enough. So this would mean the first dose...
Yes. Was a Pfizer vaccine, which we all got.
Go on.
but the second dose, we were going to get it after 3 weeks. And we all had our appointments in January, which has now been cancelled just today.
So does it make a difference, Dr. Manish Gautam, whether you've got your first dose of the Pfizer and the second of the AstraZeneca after 3 months? Can that also happen? Or 3 months later, it has to be a Pfizer. So some people will take the Pfizer 2 doses, some will take AstraZeneca 2 doses. And does it actually make a difference, sir, whether somebody's taken a Pfizer or an AstraZeneca dose, sir?
Thanks, Gaurav. Thanks for inviting me. I'm delighted to hear the news about the vaccine approval in the UK and in India. I think that's probably the best gift you can get on the newest day for people in India. My friends and families are absolutely delighted. And I think that there are going to be 2 challenges for Indian government now, as we had here in the UK. One is obviously logistics around implementation of the vaccine. And secondly, getting the vaccine to the right people at the right time, and obviously increasing vaccine program awareness. We had some issues in some part of the UK. There was lower uptake of the vaccine among British ethnic minority population. So there have been campaigns to increase awareness of the local trust levels. So that sort of initiative the government will have to take as well. A high-profile celebrity endorsing the vaccine program, answering queries, anxieties among people regarding the vaccine. We will come to those barriers sooner once the vaccine program is underway. With regards to your question, Gaurav, specifically, my colleague from the UK has just mentioned the UK Vaccine Committee has taken a bit of a U-turn in terms of giving the second dose. The second dose of Pfizer vaccine was supposed to be within 21 days, but now the Vaccine Committee has decided to delay that option for up to 12 weeks. The reason rationale, what we have been given, and the scientific committee has come up with, that if any of the vaccine first dose is given, it will provide decent amount of immunity. So rather than giving 80-90% immunity to a smaller population, what the government and the vaccine committee is recommending, we give 50-60 or maybe up to 70% vaccination efficacy to a larger population by just giving them 1 dose. There's no absolute data whether this is the right thing to do. Will that
help?
So there's no absolute data to suggest
absolutely. You know, will that help in stopping the spread? Yes, sir. That's the question actually that I was coming to. And if I could go to Dr. Rajveer Purohit in New York. In the New York, you know, we were reading about the United States that a nurse got the first dose and then tested positive. So this delay that UK is talking about, initially 21 days, now perhaps 3 months, could that be counterproductive? Or you know, one example of one nurse doesn't really set the rules, sir.
Well, first of all, you know, Happy New Year to all your viewers and to all of my fellow panelists here. You know, the report of the nurse who got the vaccine and subsequently tested positive is a little bit misleading because she tested positive in a very short time after the vaccine. So it's not clear whether she either already had COVID or she just didn't have enough time for the antibodies to build up. I concur with all of your fellow panelists and what they've said so far, though. I think one of the keys will be the distribution networks. You know, in the US, both the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines have been approved. I've been lucky, our hospital has been able to procure the Pfizer vaccine for its healthcare workers, and I've gotten the Pfizer vaccine myself. But you know, the expectation had been by the end of December, 20 million vaccines in the United States will have been injected. And so far, only 2 million have been injected. So we're really, sort of below what we anticipated to be at this point. And in large part, this is because of a failure of the distribution
And why
networks.
is that, sir?
Excuse me?
Right. Yeah, go on. So you were explaining why it's taking time.
Yeah, so
Why
I think
2 million
it's a failure of the distribution networks.
So one is distribution network.
And so it's easy to, you know, the scientists have done their job, which is developing at incredibly rapid pace, highly effective vaccines and being able to create hundreds of millions of doses of these vaccines. I think the government probably has failed in its job to some extent in being able to distribute these vaccines and setting up these networks of efficient distribution. I think things will certainly get better over the next month, but we're still sort of behind schedule. And in the United States, we've been seeing a massive uptick, a third wave of infection. So there's a race against time in some ways where we need to vaccinate as fast as we can before this third wave continues to wreak its devastation on the population. And it's important to remember that the vaccine protects not only the person who gets the vaccine, but it also helps speed up the process of developing herd immunity and limiting the numbers of people who get the infection in the neighborhood. So it helps a larger community as well. Even
so,
if
Dr. Sarin, in your opinion, yes, Dr. Sarin, are there lessons for India from the United Kingdom and from the United States in terms of this delaying the second jab from 21 days to 3 months and the delay in the distribution network? Are there lessons for India here, sir?
Yes, two things. First, an important question you asked, whether you get one vaccine like Pfizer or Moderna now, and can you get the second vaccine later? I think there is no data. Normally, it is not done. You get the same dose of the same vaccine generally. So it would be rather unusual, but it could be done. Coming to whether delaying second jab, there is no problem in that because every vaccine, they all got their data published in best journals like New England or Lancet. And after the first shot, nearly 70% of the people made neutralizing antibodies in 14 days. And they will continue to increase with the first dose. Now, suppose the virus comes now in anybody who hasn't even got adequate neutralizing antibodies, but his cells, the cells which sense the virus called T cells are all sensitized. So they know as a dummy virus was given to them, a part of dummy virus. Next time virus comes, they all are ready. So I think first dose, and now there are people making single dose, do it once and done. So this is the process. I would be, if you don't have enough vaccine or network, the lesson would be give first dose to as many people as possible. And yes, if you can do the second dose. The lesson from US is, and I am actually learning from my worthy colleague that they planned 20 million and they could do only 2 million. And I think they have such a good network of people. In India, we are having 100 people at every small area who can be vaccinated. You vaccinate, then you wait, you vaccinate and wait. I think we need to learn, and within next 1 or 2 weeks, we should be learning. So we should be prepared. And the community participation is extremely important. In US, you get an appointment and you go there, whatever you may do. In India, you get an appointment, would you be there? I would urge every single doctor, physician, media person to say, please, if you get an appointment, be there, show up. Because you can only be safe if your neighbor is safe. If you don't get a jab, then maybe he will get infected. So our lessons to be learned are community participation, a rapid mass vaccination as much as we can, of course on priorities as government has decided, and third, availability of more than one vaccine. One we have from AstraZeneca, but I hope India will get many more in next month or two on their plate, so we can have multiple vaccines. But I would like same vaccine to be given second time if required to the same population. Don't miss it, mix it up.
Because as far as India's experience is concerned, Dr. Mahajan, India has tremendous experience with BCG, with pulse polio. India has the network in place. So, the niggle that the United States is seeing, they wanted to vaccinate 20 million, could achieve only 2 million. Could we face, God forbid, that kind of a situation? Or will that be clear more from tomorrow when the dry runs are carried out, sir?
Gaurav, I think it's unlikely that we will face such a huge problem that only 10% of what was expected number is reached, because here actually the central government has taken hold of this whole charge and the states are there along with. everything is being done in a planned manner. That is something where I think the US may not have been as cognizant and as ready. And that's why we are seeing this initial hiccup. I'm sure they will also recover very fast. But here we've already had one dry run, the second dry run across the country is tomorrow. And it's being, we have the experience of running elections. And that same kind of experience is being made use of in this vaccination drive. And as has been said by Dr. Sarin, we have experience of doing mass vaccination. And that whole infrastructure, people are in place. People are also being trained. I think nearly 98,000 vaccinators have already been trained. And so if we actually go as per the plan, we should not falter so much. Of course, expecting that we'll be 100% correct may not happen, but it may be 80, 90, 95%. Definitely will not be 10%.
Okay. Now, before I bring in our guests once again, I want to take a look at the dry run that is being planned, because the dry run is extremely crucial. We've had it before, as Dr. Mahajan and our guests were also telling us, but what will this dry run look like tomorrow? The center, the state capitals, districts, also far-flung areas. India is a huge country. The challenges too are immense. Let's take a look at the dry run that's planned.
2021 इलाज की आशा लेकर के आ रहा है.
The long-awaited magic bullet is here now. The stage is set for the rollout of a vaccine against coronavirus. After conducting a dry run of vaccination in Assam, Andhra Pradesh, Punjab and Gujarat on December 28th and 29th, the centre is now extending the drills to the rest of the country.
दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा टीकाकरण अभियान चलाने के लिए भारत की तैयारियां जोरों पर है.
As part of the mammoth drive, around 96,000 vaccinators have been trained. The dry run will be conducted in 719 districts by all state and union territory administrations. The identified beneficiaries would be undergoing dummy vaccination at various centers.
जो इलेक्शन के समय हम लोग एक तरह से जितनी तैयारियां करते हैं, इवन एक बूथ के ऊपर भी जो टीम होती है, उसकी भी अल्टीमेटली ट्रेनिंग होती है. वो सारे काम मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि आप सब लोग बहुत बारीकी से कर रहे होंगे.
Once the rollout begins, COVID vaccine drive will be one of the biggest ever in the world. While India has the Experience Pulse Polio campaign, this time the vaccine is injectable and will be given to adults.
They've had a dry run today. Training session has actually gone on. There'll be 5 individuals who will be manning this. There'll be a medical officer, there'll be 2 vaccinators, a data entry operator, and also a security guard. And 25 beneficiaries will be called here. Karnataka is prepared. They're waiting. Yes, apprehension is there, but with the good news, everyone is excited to see what really happens. It's all about the linkage to show that all your planning, which has actually gone into place, actually comes out perfect.
The central government has placed orders for nearly 83 crore syringes. Bids have also been invited for nearly 35 crore syringes.
ये दर्शाया जाएगा कि पेशेंट आता है, इंजेक्शन कैसे दिया जाएगा, उसका डिस्पोजल कैसे दिया जाएगा, ऑब्जर्वेशन कमरे में रहेंगे और ऑब्जर्वेशन कमरे में रहने के बाद वहाँ पर कोई रिएक्शन होता है तो किस तरह का हम उपचार कर सकते हैं.
The whole roadmap is ready and they had a dry run today itself as well as 2 days back also, and everything is ready.
The entire process of taking the vaccine from the manufacturing plant in refrigerated transport to each nook and corner of the country in such a short time in itself is a mission never attempted before. With Milan Sharma and Nolan Pinto, Bureau Report, India Today.
Dr. Purohit, is there resistance to the vaccine from citizens in the United States of America? Are the federal government and the state governments not on the same page on vaccination? Could that be a reason? I'm trying to understand this for lessons for India, sir.
Well, yes, I think there is some resistance. You know, the Pfizer vaccine, particularly, and the Moderna vaccine are mRNA vaccines, which really have not been tested before. So on the one hand, these are new devices that we or new types of vaccines. And so it's not, I think it's understandable why there's some hesitation. And then in addition to that, I think the citizens have been getting some mixed messages from the federal government under the current president about, you know, the COVID in general and the efficacy of the vaccines and whether people need to take it or not. And in addition to that, there's all of these conspiracy theories about vaccines causing autism and causing other kinds of medical problems that are completely untrue, that have found a home on the website or through social media that have been promoted in ways that otherwise 10 years ago wouldn't have been possible. So there are plenty of mixed messages, but I think at the end of the day, this is really an issue of distribution. I think things will get better, particularly under the new administration, which will be starting in about 3 weeks now. And I'm still optimistic that you know, the vaccine will be distributed in larger numbers, you know, with time.
And Dr. Jainer, in the United Kingdom, is it the government that decides who gets the Pfizer vaccine, who gets AstraZeneca, or do patients or do people have a choice?
Sorry, is the question for me, Gaurav? Hello?
It was, ma'am. I just wanted to ask you, you know, do patients have a choice whether they want AstraZeneca or they want Pfizer, or the government decides and that's that? And is there a difference whether you take A or B?
I think until now we were only given Pfizer, but from now onwards it will be Oxford. And the second dose, the people who've had Pfizer will get the second dose of Pfizer. But as you say, it's a government's decision rather than an individual's decision. In December, we didn't have a choice. And now, because Oxford vaccine is cheaper, so everyone will get that. And as I said, only the few 100,000 people who've had the Pfizer vaccine will get the second dose of the Pfizer vaccine, but that will be about another, maybe till February, March time. Is that okay?
Okay. And Dr. Parikh, does it make a difference whether you get the Pfizer or you get the AstraZeneca, Covishield, or you get some of the other vaccines, including Sputnik or the other ones that are being manufactured and could be in the market soon?
From what I understand, most of the trials, there have been large trials conducted, and most of them have had good efficacy. And I think the only thing which will differ is the storage and the cost. And in that aspect, the Oxford AstraZeneca is the forerunner. So any vaccine would be fine as long as they've passed through the trials, they've been approved by the regulators.
Any vaccine is fine.
It shouldn't be a problem. And the side effects, of course, we'll have to wait and watch. But we've not.
Dr. Parikh, is that also your view for India?
For India, I think given the climate and given the large population and the cost, I would go for the Oxford one, which is being produced by the Covishield, I understand, there. And it's going to be local manufacture. It's cheaper. It's easy to administer. And I would prefer that one for India or any other country, in fact, if I have a choice.
Right. Right. Dr. Parikh, you share that view?
No, I have a slightly differing view. So the trials that have been conducted for Moderna and Pfizer were very transparent and very clear. It was high quality data that showed efficacy close to 95% following 2 doses. While we know that the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is efficacious, the clinical trial itself was not designed as well. They made a few errors in calculating the dose of some of the vaccines, and some of the efficacy data has been extrapolated. So we know that the efficacy is somewhere around 70%, but a lot of subgroup analysis has been done. So we don't exactly know what the efficacy is going to be in different groups. So I agree in the sense that any vaccine that's available to you, you should take that when it's your turn. but I don't think we have the data right now to say that the efficacy is equal. If I may really quickly, you asked the question earlier, and I think we should clarify something. We talked about the efficacy after a single dose of the Oxford vaccine. This is the decision the UK has taken is an experiment that they're doing right now. There is no data to suggest that the immune response after one shot will be durable and will last that long. It's based on an extremely small sample size. So it's a very important experiment that they're doing. It's very
Dr.
urgent.
Gautam, you agree? You agree with that? That because UK may not have the required number of doses just as yet, so they're saying immunize more instead of giving the second dose to some. And it's slender as the thread, sir.
I agree with comments made by other colleagues, Gaurav, and I completely agree with the point that there is no absolute data to say that giving vaccine at 12-week interval will also provide same level of efficacy. However, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine has some suggestion. It's a slightly better data compared to Pfizer that if you delay vaccination by 12 weeks, the efficacy of Oxford vaccine is actually better. But again, these are all small numbers. But I think what's the main aim of vaccination program is to vaccinate as many people as possible and as quickly. And I think if in ideal world, you would go for a vaccine which has got the highest efficacy. For example, Pfizer, vaccinate the whole world, problem sorted. But we've got to act quickly and we got to utilize what resources we have. And every country has to look at those resources. And therefore, I would actually go with the option of vaccinate as many people as possible. Yes, you may not achieve 90% efficacy and therefore, I think based on these rationales, UK government has gone for that option, vaccinate as many people as possible. However, this has caused a significant amount of anxiety among colleagues, especially those who had the first dose. So biggest learning, I would say, for the Indian government should be whatever vaccination schedule you are planning to do it now and do not make changes at a later stage. It's not going to be good for the rollout of the program. And I think that's the biggest learning. Whatever you decide, stick with that plan.
And Dr. Sarin, you agree with that point, that follow the plan of the second vaccine in your appreciation within 21 days or within 1 month instead of waiting for 3 months. That is what Government of India should do, sir?
Yeah, I think the normal practice for vaccine, what is known as trained immunity.
Dr. Sarin, sir.
You are training your immunity, and the trained immunity would be that at 28 days you should have the second vaccine dose. I think this is quite advisable, and I totally agree with my fellow panelists that yes, whatever plan we decide, we should stick to it. But also, to prevent the mutant virus, you remember the first time the India got the virus was around 27th of January 2020, and we had the numbers exploding sometimes in March, April when we were doing a lockdown. Now the mutant virus in the UK is 80% of the total population. So UK had to devise a strategy to the whole population to be vaccinated. We don't want that situation of another wave in India with the mutant virus is coming. Remember, if you have found 29, it means you have missed 290 or maybe even more, 100 times, 50 times more are missed. So we may have another wave in next 3 months. So we must have clear strategy, no doubt, but faster vaccination without mistake should be done. And the current vaccine, AstraZeneca, at least has given enough data to say you can take it. Yes, it is safe, it is affordable, and it is locally available and in large number. So I would encourage people to take it. But yes, government has made very good, thorough plan. We do hope we can start in next 7 days to 10 days, and the whole country starts with a combined effort of decreasing the pandemic. But yes, if you don't get a second dose, and even 2 weeks after second dose, when the antibodies are high, do not change your COVID behavior. Please remember wearing mask. Vaccination does not prevent you from getting sick disease, but you can still get infected. So do not change your behavior for at least 6 months from now.
And infect others, absolutely. Very significant.
That's a very good point, Gaurav.
Very significant words. In fact, that was my question to Dr. Mahajan. Go on, sir. Please go on.
So I was going to say, Gaurav.
I would certainly say that mask, if you put it on the nose as well as on the mouth, there is a beautiful study in New England that if you wear the mask out of what is N95, that 95% of the virus which is thrown out is taken away, 5% of the virus might get into your system. And that is a small dose of vaccination and you get immunity. But suppose you don't wear a mask, you get the infection, you really become sick. So please wear the mask thoroughly, as always has been taught, till at least 6 months. When you have 70-80% of the population is vaccinated, well, everybody will announce now is the time to enjoy. But for now, we have to be very strict, no complacency in the whole program, and get vaccinated as fast as you can. Never deny.
I have the last 30 seconds on this part of the program, and Dr. Mahajan. Yes, sir. That's how do you delay the next wave or stop it, stem the tide if possible? And that's just where the mask is. That it, sir?
See, I think COVID appropriate behavior has to be followed, not only for 6 months, I think for 1.5 years at the very least, because Indian population of 1.3 billion, even if you were to vaccinate 60%, that's about 80 crore people. It's going to take you at least 1.5 years if all goes well. So COVID appropriate behavior, and do take the vaccine when your time comes, when your turn comes. And also do take the follow-up, the second shot. I think that's going to be very, very important and tough to maintain, because we tend to forget. And here the government is actually going to be providing it. So it seems it's something there for free. Do not miss the second dose. The first dose, of course, but the second dose equally important, and continue wearing the mask, social distancing, hand hygiene, don't hug people, don't think life is going to come back to normal very fast.
Okay, is that the appreciation across the globe in the UK and the US for the next 1 year? Continue wearing the mask, hand hygiene, very essential. Last 10 seconds, Dr. Gautam, and then Dr. Purohit. Dr. Gautam?
Thanks, Gaurav. I think that's absolutely, I don't want to come across pessimist here. It's a great news we need to celebrate today. But at the same time, we cannot afford to lower our guard. So hand washing, face mask, social distances has to stay. Vaccine is just one of the things. Even today, we have very limited number of treatments available, only steroids we have for COVID. COVID is still out there. UK strain is still causing a havoc here. So please stick to the basics, and vaccine is just a great news.
Yes.
And embrace that.
Okay.
It's Dr. Gautam,
Dr. Purohit, you agree?
Yeah, 100% agreement. I think it's clear we'll continue to have to wear masks, continue hand washing. And, if nothing else, this also protects from other things such as influenza, which can be quite devastating in the United States. But we'll continue to have to do the standard precautions. A vaccine provides an extra layer of support, of medical support, but we'll continue. Life won't go back to normal anytime soon.
Okay, but it's actually been my privilege to have had this opportunity to interact with you and learn so much from all of you in India, in the UK, and in the United States. And there's so much that the world can learn from each other when you deal with this Wuhan virus, when you deal with the China virus. And once again, many thanks to all of you, Dr. Sarin, Dr. Harsh Mahajan, Dr. Parikh, Dr. Jainer, Dr. Gautam, and Dr. Purohit for joining me here on India First. A privilege to have spoken to all of you. In India, how will this vaccine be transported? There's a very elaborate system that's been put in place, and India Today's Poulami Saha now gets us that report from Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport.
One of the cargo terminals at Delhi International Airport, and this specific area where I'm standing right now, I'll ask my camera person Ajay to show you around. This is where the COVID-19 vaccines, when they come in, will be stored. These are cargo facilities, temperature temperature-controlled cargo facilities. So the temperature that I'm standing in right now is about 2 to 8 degrees. This is the temperature which will be maintained in this section. That's the cold storage, which goes up to minus 20 degrees Celsius, where the vaccine can be stored. And what we're being told is like 2 freighters worth of vaccine material and doses can in fact be stored over here. The total capacity in terms of weight stands at about 1.5 lakh metric tons, but they say, Delhi airport authorities say, that can be expanded as well. This behind me is the green channel. Now this is an express channel of sorts inside Delhi International Airport's cargo terminal, which can ensure faster movement and delivery of the COVID-19 vaccine after it arrives on an aircraft from here. So the freighter can come here directly and go from here through this express channel towards the truck docking area. It's going to take about 40 minutes is what we've been told, in order to unload it from an aircraft and then ensure that it is uploaded. In a sense, it has been put onto a truck for delivery further. What you see behind me is called a cool dolly. In simple terms, this is like a refrigeration unit which is used for transportation purposes. So when the vaccine arrives on an aircraft and it has to be moved towards the terminal building, the cargo terminal building where we're standing, it obviously cannot move in the open. It has to move in a temperature-controlled environment, and a cool dolly provides that. So the container will go into the cool dolly, and the cool dolly maintains the temperature, whatever it is, of the container, and transports whatever is the consignment from the aircraft towards the terminal. One of the temperature-controlled cargo facilities right now, and I'm standing inside minus 20 degrees Celsius. That is how much the temperatures can be controlled up to dip. They dip up to minus 20 degrees Celsius over here, and this is the coldest storage facility that the Delhi International Airport has in terms of storing cargo. So this is the temperature up until which they can store dosages of the vaccine. It starts from plus 25 degrees Celsius. It goes to minus 20 degrees Celsius. That is the temperature that me and my camera person Ajay Thakur are currently standing in.
हमारे पास स्टोरेज कैपेसिटी करीब 27 लाख वैक्सीन की है। अगर दिन में 2 राउंड हम उसको रोटेट कर पाएं, बिकॉज कोई भी कार्गो कंटेनर आएगा, उसको कार्गो फ्रेटर आएगा, उसको अनलोड करना, उसको फिर से अगर बल्क ब्रेक करना है तो बल्क ब्रेक करना, और फिर वापस उसको लोड करना, तो उसमें अगर वो 2 रोटेशन है तो दिन भर में हम 54 लाख वायल्स भी डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर सकते हैं।
Airport Limited has made extensive arrangements for the vaccine for COVID-19 to be stored over here and then transported out of here from the airport where I'm standing right now. When it arrives, of course, is something that the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare will be deciding, but the ministry seems to have indicated to Delhi Airport that it could be any time in the month of January. Various technical measures which have been taken, obviously a lot has gone into it, a lot of thought has gone into it in order to ensure that as far as the vaccine is concerned, it reaches, the deliverable reaches you in the best possible condition, given that these vaccines will eventually have to be kept in very temperature controlled environments, and they're very temperature sensitive, so to say. So clearly Delhi Airport is prepared, and so have other airports as well, the major airports in India, in order to ensure that the vaccine reaches you safely and is administered to you.
With camera person Ajay Thakur, Polami Saha at the Delhi International Airport for India Today.
So as India gears up for the vaccination, remember what Prime Minister Narendra Modi said. Dawai bhi aur kadai bhi. Hand hygiene, wear a mask and maintain social distancing. That's extremely important for India to stay healthy and to keep India first. That is all I have time for on this bulletin. Many thanks for watching and have a wonderful year ahead.